Yeah. Deep-rooted conversations, real talk, real roots, real us, souls. Soft rain, no middleman between the truth. I can see it in your eyes, you got it. Pain got your heart moving cautious. Different worlds but the same kind of scars here. Different roads but somehow we still crossed it. Mad cause the world never listened right. Mad cause your truth always turns.
Disclaimer: this broadcast is intended for commentary, discussion, and entertainment purposes only. All topics and statements are based on publicly available information, including news reports, social media content, and third-party sources, which may include allegations or unverified claims. The views expressed are opinions and should not be interpreted as confirmed facts. This content is not intended to harm, defame, misrepresent any individual, organization, or entity. Viewer discretion is advised.
How did this become normal? Another name, another picture on the screen, another family standing in front of cameras asking the same question. What happened? Maybe the hardest question isn't why we're looking for answers. Maybe it's why we have to look for them so often. Another mother waiting by the phone. Another father trying to stay strong. Another candle burning in the street. Another pair of shoes with empty feet. We know the language, know the scene. Yellow tape and TV screens. We're investigating, give it time. But another name becomes a headline. Everybody got a theory now. Everybody knows the how. But somewhere underneath the noise, family just wants to hear the truth. How many times can we say not again? Then wait tomorrow and repeat it again. We keep asking where did we go wrong? But maybe we've been asking way too long. How did this become normal? Tell me, how did we get here? Another life, another question. Another family drowning in tears. We're searching for answers to things happening every day. If tragedy becomes familiar, somebody tell me, what's happening to us? Children learning how to run and hide before they learn what dreams are like. Schools.
Sophie Lancaster's 18-year-old son, Malachi, was shot once on December 8th, 2024, while walking out of the woods in Alachua County. He was a homecoming king, an honor student, and by every account, someone whose kindness shaped everyone around him. What happened that night is still contested. The medical examiner ruled his death undetermined. The Fish and Wildlife Commission closed it as an accident. But Sophie Lancaster has spent the last 7 months compiling the official records, the autopsies, the lab report, investigators' notes, and she's found documented contradictions that by her accounting were never resolved. She's here to tell us what those documents say. Miss Sophie, we thank you for being here.
Hey, Miss Sophie, you can hear us? Can you hear us, Miss Sophie? There you go.
I can't hear you.
You can, oh no.
We just fixed this.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear us now? Did they cut your mic back on, Miss Sophie? Let's see. Can you hear us now?
I've got my sound, but I actually can't hear you. I was
Okay. We can hear you again. Is
you
it
can
the
hear
mic?
me.
We can hear you. We
Because
just
I didn't do anything to my phone since the last time we spoke.
okay. Do you mind if you go out and come back in real quick, Miss Lancaster? Can you
Close out and then come
close
back.
out and come back in?
What's that?
Are you able to close out and come back in?
I'm not sure.
Can you hear us now? Are
This
you
is
able to hear us?
strange. Okay. Okay.
Can you hear us now? All right. Give us 1 second, y'all. We're
Actually,
gonna
don't know why I cannot hear you.
okay. Rain, give me 1 second. I'm gonna kick her out of the studio. I'm gonna have you give her a call, okay?
Okay.
And while Rain works on that, guys, we appreciate everybody who's currently here with us today. And we'll be bringing her right back. We actually had all of it fixed in the background, so StreamYard been on one today. But we're gonna get everything going. I'm gonna play the rest of that song for you guys. We appreciate everyone who's here, everyone who's joining us. Ms. Lancaster is gonna join us live again in just a second. Rain is on the back with her, so.
In streets, places where we're supposed to find peace. Black child, white child, rich or poor. Pain don't check before knocking at your door. Different stories, different names, but somebody's family feels the same. And we argue left and we argue right, while somebody's praying just to make it through the night. Truth gets buried underneath the fight. Everybody wants to win, but who speaks for the ones who won't come home again? We need answers, but we need something more. But we need something more. We need healing. We need change. We need truth without choosing sides. We need compassion without asking somebody's name. Because a life is a life and pain is pain. And another grieving family should never feel routine again. Maybe seeking answers isn't the problem. Maybe the problem is
All right, let's see if we can get in.
Okay.
All right.
Hear you guys.
Man.
Awesome. There we go. Yeah, hey, the devil be busy.
I know.
He be busy. We're gonna get this going today. Don't worry about it.
We're going to get this done.
Yes, we are, man. Yes, we are. So we want to present to everybody. This is Miss Sophie Lancaster. We want to say, first of all, nothing but gratitude and thank you so much for giving us your time today for us to speak more about justice for Malachi and to get his name out there. I do want to state to the audience, and we spoke to them about you before, Miss Sophie. Hearing you over the phone that first day, your grace, your eloquence, your patience, you can hear that you only are seeking one thing, and it's very appreciative. There's so many stories going on in the world where it seems like a lot of anger is behind it, a lot of frustration is behind it, which I understand you may have went through all of those as well, all those emotions, but you can tell now you have one mission, and it's a beautiful mission. And we just want to say thank you, God. Thank you. And we also want to let everybody know we do have the organization in the chat for you guys, for anybody who wants to go and support in any manner. If it's just supporting, sending prayers, donations, whatever it is in the chat, we appreciate you. And Ms. Sophia, the floor is yours. We would like to start off the day with just you being able to actually speak about who Malachi was, who he is, and who some remember. And for y'all who don't know, I will have a kind of like a quick little bio at the bottom for you guys. So the floor is yours, man.
Thank you again, Souls and Rain. Appreciate you guys for allowing me the opportunity to share Malachi's story. And it's definitely been a journey, something that we never thought we would be walking in and through since December the 8th of 2024. And some might say that, wow, that's been a while ago. That's, almost 2 years. We're in 20 months, I believe, right now. But for us, it just seems like yesterday because, it's been a process initially when we lost Malachi, we were entrusting ourselves to the process of investigation. And so at that time, we're working on the shock that he no longer was with us. But here, to just share a bit about who Malachi was an amazing individual. I would say, like, since he was a young boy, he had just this special maturity and knack. He was very aware of his environment, aware about people. And just I'll give you an example of how unique he was. I remember one time I received a call, and this is when he was in middle school. It was a teacher. She was just like emotional. She said she was going through a really hard time in her life, and I guess a divorce that she was processing. And there had been some conversations about her not being a good parent and all of that. But she said, Malachi knocked on my door and he said, Miss So and so, you are a wonderful mother. And, you're a good mother. And don't let anyone convince you that you're not. And this is his teacher. And he doesn't know anything that is going on. But she was like so touched. And she said, I don't know what made him stop at my door, knock on it, and tell me this, because she actually lived in our neighborhood. And so when I had a conversation with him, I said, Malachi, what did you do? What happened? He says, I was walking past her house. Then something told me to go and knock on her house and tell her that she's a good mother. And at that moment, she was reading messages of other people who were telling her she wasn't a good mother. So for her, it was like a God moment where she felt like, how is it that this young boy just knocks on my door and gives me the words to say? So although he was a regular kid, but there was these special things that he did that you just said, something else is about you. You're different. And I remember even when we were going through the process of adopting our daughter, and how it was so challenging. It was difficult, the process, because it was an international adoption. And I remember one moment we were driving and I just said, you know what, this is so hard. Maybe I'm just going to give up. He looked at me and he said, I didn't know you had that kind of spirit. I was like, what kind of spirit are you talking about? He says, that give up spirit. I didn't know you had that give up spirit. I had never seen it positioned that way. Like, it's actually a spirit. And so in that, I was like, no, I just gathered myself. I'm like, we're going to figure out how to get through this. And so this is just a snippet. And so the same experiences I've shared as a mother, and even his brother, his older brother and younger sister, I mean, they'll have many, many stories about who Malachi was and how he impacted them in his living and even in his death. And I can tell you that Malachi to me was more magnified, like as far as we got to understand the extent of his influence, even in his death, when we had perfect strangers come to us and say, Malachi had keys to my house. He was able, when my father passed away, he left a note on my kitchen table telling me, encouraging me, and I still have that note. It was like so many households. And I said, how was he able to influence and touch so many people? When he passed away, our community just showed us so much love. They were there for weeks and weeks, providing whatever it is that we needed, making sure we were taken care of. And the thing that I got, it wasn't about us. I said, this is not us. We didn't do anything. This is Malachi's life shining bright, that even in his death, the people he touched, the lives that he changed, the people he encouraged and showed up for, they just are showing up for us on his behalf.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's just, Malachi.
Awesome. Lovely. Love it. And I was reading through the document and seeing that he had a little hustler or a entrepreneur spirit as well. Looks like he was a master of none, but a jack of a lot of trades.
Yes. So
So,
since he was young, I would say elementary school, he knew like how to get the things that he wanted in life. So for us, we always believed in we help our kids, but we don't enable them. So he started his little lawn service business. Was even in elementary school, he was that kid that everybody entrusted. They would say, "Can Malachi pet sit for me?" I'm like, "Wow, you trust my little son come in your house and have access and codes and everything." But he was just that kid, and it didn't matter about race. He was welcome in white people's families, black people's families. It didn't even matter, young and old. He was that type of person that found ability to basically make money. He was an entrepreneur. He always had a lot of confidence and faith. So whatever he put his mind to, he was able to achieve it, whether it's starting a business, finding needs in our community. And I would even find, like, when people on the Newberry Forum, this is our community forum, would say, "Hey, I need someone to help me. I'm clearing out my garage, or I'm doing this thing. Can you suggest some teens in the area?" And they would be like, "Contact Sophie Lancaster, because Malachi is someone you want to trust with this." So he was just that type of person.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, Ms. Sophie, would you like to give a synopsis of what happened before we go into the questions that we have for you?
So on December the 8th, 2024, we got a dreaded call that no parent should ever, and I pray that no parent ever experienced this call. And it was actually my oldest son. He was in a panic and he says, "Mom, call Malachi because I'm trying to reach him and I know he'll pick up for you." And he's not picking up his phone. And so I called him at that time, and we were 2.5 hours away in Tallahassee. We had gone to a church event there for one of our young adults who's in our ministry. He was holding an event at Florida State University. So I called my son and it rang. And then I called again and it was turned off. And then my oldest son said, we heard that he's been shot. And immediately we started our way back to Gainesville. And it was the most heart-wrenching 2.5 hours drive that we have ever experienced in our life. And, you know, you start to just ask God, like, "Okay, Lord, I'm putting my son in your hands. I'm entrusting myself to you." And when we got to the hospital, I can tell you there was hundreds of people there. So many people, young kids, like students from all over Gainesville as well as Newberry. He just was that impactful that it was flooded. So our getting into the hospital, and even law enforcement was there representing and being there for my husband. So my husband had a sense that this was not good. And I, on the other hand, didn't expect this. So we went in, the doctor let us know that they weren't able to save him. And then after that, we had the investigators who were put on the case. Florida Wildlife Investigator Bembry walked into the room, and investigator Detective Weitzel with the Alachua County Sheriff's Office walked in. And at that time, they explained that they believed that the rifle got snagged on a branch, and that's how he suffered that injury that caused his death. And at that time, we obviously don't really ask many questions. Initially, when my oldest son made it to the hospital, they told him that he fell from a tree stand and that the rifle misfired or fired and shot him in the abdomen. So it was different accounts that we heard that night. But obviously, when they walked in and they told us that a twig had pulled the trigger at that time, we're like, crazy things can happen. So here we are. They're going to investigate, and they will come to a conclusion that is supported by forensics. So then we just prepared to lay our son to rest. That's where the effort that we had to go into making sure that we would honor his life and celebrate him at the funeral. And yeah.
So, when going back to when you initially got the reports from the medical examiner, they ruled his death undetermined pending investigation, and then they never changed it even after the Florida Fish and Wildlife closed the case as accidental. So walk us through what Dr. Palmer told you, like why he wouldn't call it an accident.
Okay. So initially, the day after my son's death, my husband, actually my father-in-law and my husband, they did have a conversation with the medical examiner's office. Initially, it was about Malachi's experience with rifles, and he was, because my husband is military, retired military, as well as he is with the sheriff's department as a deputy, but he's, made the kids very comfortable with rifles and guns. And, personally, I don't like, but he, within his experience, exposed them and was able to kind of show them the mechanisms. And in fact, Malachi and my husband were building one, as a little project. So that was a question the the medical examiner's investigator, she asked my husband if he had any experience, because Florida Wildlife had gone there earlier that morning saying that it was an accident because my son had no experience with, he was new to hunting and no experience. So I'm like, they're already framing a narrative before they even talk to us as a family to say, hey, did your son have any experience with rifles? You already are asserting a conclusion without actually investigating. And so they did say at that time, that day after his passing, that they wanted further investigation because the account given that day, which was the twig pulling, did not align with the autopsy findings. So they wanted Florida Fish and Wildlife, as well as the Alachua County Sheriff's Office, to continue the investigation to come to a conclusion that would be more aligned with the actual autopsy findings.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
I had a question. So, Miss Sophie, and what I'm hearing from you is you had a lot of trust in the system initially.
100%.
And that's where, how do you feel about that now? Like, do you feel like it still was appropriate, or do you feel like now you would do things totally different, just kind of looking back?
What I feel sad. Sorry.
Oh no.
I feel sad that when I watched like the Nolan case and the energy that came with just him missing, and then it like, not even going through the investigator stage, I said, this is really sad that it has to take all of this effort for people to do their jobs, for like a civil right to be given, that we didn't cry wolf. We didn't know to do it because we were putting our faith in a process, in forensic science, and in people doing their job. But I think what I found out through our own personal experience is that not everyone has equal protection under the law. And that is disheartening. It's heartbreaking, because if you understand that when families face such a catastrophic event in their life, they are hurting. They're like just on the floor. They don't have energy to spend in any other things than to just grieve and realize that there's a new reality that they have to walk through. And then now, when you understand that you can't even entrust yourself to the system doing the right thing, we're not asking for anything extraordinary. We're just asking for what is ordinary for every citizen that is supposed to be protected by law, every person who's supposed to, receive equal protection under the law. So when you ask me that question, I'm very disappointed. I am discouraged in the sense of in the system, but it makes my fight even more, because I can't bring back my son, but I just say, no, it's not okay. It's not okay that they come to conclusions without investigation, and they expect grieving families to just accept something that is illogical and say, yes, this is how I need to live the rest of my life, knowing what I say is I cannot live.
Oh.
Somebody's probably calling her. She's on the phone.
Yeah.
She'll be right back, guys. Probably somebody calling in. She'll be right back.
Yeah.
While we're doing that, I think it's very important that we do get some of these questions answered and be able to give our audience more of a broader viewpoint of like how this actually looks, because this was a family who was pretty much putting their faith in the system.
Mhm.
um, and I think as she's speaking about it, she's letting us know that we'll never do that
Hello?
again. Yep,
Yeah.
we can hear
Hello?
you.
We're
Did
here.
somebody call you?
Hello?
Can
Oh,
you hear us?
sorry. Oh, I have to go out and come back again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
She'll come.
Oh, I'm back.
Can
I
you
think
hear
Can you
us?
hear us?
yes, I can hear you. So I don't know.
Awesome.
I know I was just talking and talking to myself, I think, but
Oh no, no, no. We apologize. It blacked out. The part you were on, you were just speaking about the civil way that everything. It's sad how things have to go for you to try to get justice, for you to for people to understand, like, what the families are going through. And I was mentioning to the audience why that little complication part happened. It's just that we want to give everybody a broad view of what it looks like on your end, right? Because us as content creators, I think sometimes we get lost in the emotions and we want to pick a side, but in the midst of picking sides, we never get the truth from the people who have the truth. And
yeah.
that's what we really want to do today. We're asking you these questions and discussing, because there's no way for us to move forward with helping you receive closure if everybody doesn't have the full view of the story. So we appreciate you again. I can't say that enough. And we'll be here to support you in any manner of way. So go ahead, Ray.
Awesome.
Yeah, so going back to the investigation, one thing that did spark my attention was the missing ammunition, and that's like a big contradiction that happened. So the witnesses, they swore under oath that night that all three of his rounds were intact and one was in the chamber. But when the deputies checked the file or checked the rifle, so, I'm sorry, the chamber was empty and only two rounds were in the magazine. And I know that K9 searched the next day and never found that third round. So why do you think he was never confronted about this discrepancy that happened? Did they ever? I know. Did they ever do a ballistics report on the ammunition as well?
Yes, they did. So when we look at the first 24 hours, okay, we have young black male suffered a shot, was shot, and then where he was shot in the posterior left flank. So the back, and the left, and it describes the injury as the bullet was moved. It moved from the back to the front, and then it moved upward, and so and it was close range, so about 1 to 3 centimeters away from his body. So I would say pressed on his back. And so then you have that, and then you have a medical examiner within the first 24 hours who says that this does not add up. They need to look at other conclusions that would more different account than what's been stated. Then before that, we have forensic that identifies that we have a missing round. How do they know before ballistics are done that that missing round is not the one that is in my son? And in that, there is no accountability for him. He's treated and protected as a witness, as opposed to potentially being taken to the headquarters for questioning, maybe a more, a process that would allow, information to come out. But instead, he's able to go home, and 10 days later, they interview him 10 days later from that night with it, then he can explain away evidence, basically. So it wasn't that the evidence that was missing or didn't make any sense, including the medical examiner's report, as well as the missing bullet, that it was more of everything was explained away to protect a conclusion that a twig did it. So it didn't matter what the evidence was saying, it was explained away. But it doesn't make any sense though. So ballistics come back, the rifle that my son so-called alleged shot himself with accidentally, that when you look at the DNA and the fingerprints, or the DNA fingerprints and on the rifle guard, the actual body where someone holds a rifle with, they say uninterpretable, meaning they cannot determine if my son was even holding it. Like, you can't even put my own son's fingerprints, which would be the logical thing, He's been this rifle hunting for maybe 3 hours, and you can't even place his own fingerprints on it. And then, so then who was holding it? Can you say who was holding it? No, you cannot, right? And the bullet itself, they said inconclusive, but they leaned towards that rifle, which was a 6.5 Primo, only because they said that the other rifle that was on the scene, they were able to exclude it, but it was still like inconclusive. So when you look at the evidence that they are using, I'm like, what are you using to frame this conclusion? Because if it is a testimony from someone, the witness, who has actually told two different stories that night, just because you don't want to state the other one on record doesn't mean it wasn't said. But we understand that there was another story, because remember, my son was told that he fell from a tree stand when he got to the hospital. And then later on, we were told by the two lead investigators given the case that it was a twig that pulled the trigger. But when they even showed me the pictures that you're showing right now, they had a special meeting that to address our concerns. And they said, we're going to show you the evidence that this is what happened. When I saw that, I actually laughed. I was like, this is the evidence? I said, this looks staged to me. This is not, like, I really was taken aback. Like, this is not helping me feel like, I like feeling like you really understand the conclusion and that this is what happened. This actually shows me more that there's a lot of questions here. How is it that a rifle that is being held by someone who's 6.2, like 6 feet 2 inches, that when he falls and that rifle falls, it's still displaying, hey, look at me, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And when you test when you look at the DNA and the trigger guard and the fingerprints, you can't even place my son's hands on it. We have a lot of questions.
Oh, definitely.
So just to get clarification, and again, a lot of this is also going to be education for the audience, for people who might not be familiar with like investigations and things of that nature. Is the reason why this hasn't gone to trial is due to they never found anyone responsible, correct?
The reason is they never made it a criminal investigation, which is very interesting because
Yes.
you're showing is Bing's. So in Bing's, there is a part that he says after he did the scene, he looked at the scene. It's in his conclusion. He says that the plausible way to move forward would be to handle this as a criminal investigation. This was a recommendation. The only investigator from FWC who came on the field said, due to the speculative nature of the incident and the fact that it involves a death, this is not a hunting accident, but it's a hunting incident. And that in order to move forward, the plausible action was to handle it as a criminal investigation. This would mean that the state attorney would be brought in. And so we would then, it's not saying that anyone has done a criminal thing, but it's saying that this should have been handled as a criminal investigation as opposed to being suppressed as an accident. So we never had a referral to a state attorney. It was pretty much an open and shut case as an accident.
And we have the initial conclusion here. I don't know if you can see it, Rain.
Can you read it, actually?
Yes, I can read it for you. And Miss Sophie, I will apologize in advance if I don't pronounce any big words correctly, okay?
Okay.
Everybody laughs at me for this, me and Rain, but I'm going to read it for you. So our initial conclusion on December the 8th, 2024, based on my training and the experience, and considering the subject was last observed carrying the rifle with his left hand, as well as the location and orientation of the rifle when it was subsequently recovered in the bush, it was plausible that an accidental discharge may have resulted in a self-inflicted gunshot wound. If the rifle was being carried or dragged with the muzzle oriented, what's that say? Is that a rearwarded, or rearwarded, or rereared it, or rearwarded? Like rear towards the rear, towards the rear, towards the individual, their existence as a significant risk of unintentional discharge. This risk is heightened if the muzzle was pointed towards the descendant's left flank, which it was, While walking alongside dense bush, the rifle became entangled with surrounding vegetation, such as entanglement, may have caused the descendant to lose control of the weapon, potentially resulting in the muzzle shifting rearward
Rearward.
or
Yeah.
towards the descendant's body. Furthermore, environmental obstacles such as twigs came into contact with the trigger mechanism. If significant force were applied, particularly since the firearm safety was not engaged, this could result in the trigger being depressed and the weapon discharging unintentionally. There are established best practices for safely carrying a rifle, including use of a sling, which allows for greater control over the weapon and ensures. Let me scroll it up, ensures that the muzzle remains consistently pointed in a safe direction. Failure to employ such methods increases the potential for accidental discharge in an uncontrolled environment.
So my question is,
Okay.
the rifle did not have a sling on it, so he was just hand carrying the rifle.
Yes, he didn't have a sling on that, but I wanted you to read. There's the
Is-
recommendation part.
okay, let me go down for you. I have no
I
problem.
think there's a part in the end where he makes a recommendation.
Okay, let me see. Would that be by Dustin Earl,
Oh,
or
no,
was it before that?
it would be at the end where he says that his recommendation was to handle it as a criminal investigation. They said the plausible way. It would be in the last paragraphs, I think, of the document.
Let's see here.
It would have. Oh, you don't see it. Okay. So what you read was basically describing all the things for the perfect storm to happen, and he would have to be basically holding a rifle by the.
I found it for you, Miss Sophie.
Go
So
ahead.
it's right here in the yellow highlight. It says, based on the information stated in my supplement, I inform investigator is that Brimbry,
Yeah.
Brimbry that this appears to be a hunting incident. However, given the initial context of the incident and the fatal outcome, treat it as a criminal case was possible course of action.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it seems like he was telling them, hey, due to everything that we have already received, evidence, everything that we obtained from being on the scene, that the next possible case actions should be to treat this as a criminal case.
And that was never done. In fact, that was the recommendation that night. And then at 9 a.m. in the morning, the one who was recommended to handle it as a criminal investigation went and told the medical examiner that my son didn't have any experience with hunting. So he probably shot himself in the back, which is interesting because you haven't even investigated for you to make where you. I said, where did you get that information? Did you talk to me as the fam, like my husband, myself? It sounds like a story has been formulated and they're pretty much framing this investigation based on a story, which my question is, what evidence are you using in framing this story?
Hmm. It's it's just so disheartening to me that they have everything on the plate in front of them and they're not they're doing it justice. They're not they should have done in even if they didn't find anything in the criminal investigation, at least it was done.
Yeah.
You know? So it's Uncle Plug said the story is not adding up already. And it's not, because even if he I'm sorry. I be at a loss for words because it's so much that could have been done and that hasn't been done. And so
In April, it's been like that for us. It's like when this happened, you can imagine how many times we've at home tried to role play this. Like,
yes.
how did Malachi do this to himself? Like, and then the way the bullet moves, remember, it moves from back to front. So it's not just like straight up, like how, so I'm like, how did he do that to himself? And at the end of it, I rested my case in the medical examiner's expertise. Because I said, Sophie, stop trying to, he already said the account given does not align with the autopsy findings. So if I remain there, I understand that the doctor who actually looked at my son's body as an in the autopsy established that the account given, the way the investigation was concluded, there is not a 51% chance that it happened that way. So we have not yet, the story of how my son sustained that injury has not yet been told.
Yeah, and it takes about 5 to 6 pounds of force and pressure to even pull the trigger.
Yeah.
That
And a
would you
twig.
yeah,
I
you would
mean,
almost have to be like sprinting through the woods. Like literally like sprinting. And just to tell your husband as well, thank you for his service. I just recently retired from the Air Force, so yeah, I'm very familiar with weapons. I was in law enforcement as well for about 5 years of my 20-year
Yes.
enlistment. But yeah, when I started reading this and going over all the information and doing the background, I was like, yeah, this right here just like, I mean, I understand for stories where there's a lot of gray area, but like with this, it's right in front of you, and then it's almost like people wanted to create gray area
Yeah.
instead of just understanding what happened, even if it was possibly accidental, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are okay with that. You're just trying to see, okay, how did the accident occur?
Yeah.
We so it's rough. It's rough.
and speaking of that, I did read too that your husband is a deputy with the same sheriff's office that assisted in the investigation, and he did tell the medical examiner the day after Malachi died that he didn't believe that Malachi shot himself the way it was being described. And that same day, approximately 45 minutes later, the lead investigator told the same office it was an accident. So did you ever get like an explanation for that timing, or what went on in those 45 minutes, the reason why it came out so quickly that it was an accident?
That's what I'm saying. Within that time, when you still have missing forensic, you're still missing a bullet. And you haven't even you sent the K9, because the K9 unit went out at 2 p.m. that day. So I don't think that they were looking to investigate. I think it was just, let's close this, let's wrap it up, let's move on with our lives.
One
Did
word that's
okay.
missing, I'm sorry, one
No,
word
go
that's
ahead.
missing that just keeps like just tapping on my temple right here is logic. There's none
None.
in this whole scenario. There's no logic from the sheriff's office like investigation side. There's no, like, the logic is missing.
Yeah.
That's what keeps.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. So I'm
And my
sorry.
no, and my biggest thing, because I'm looking forward for your next interview too, because I know your husband's going to be a part of that one,
Mhm.
and I just really want to know how has this affected his career? Like, how does like did he stay with the sheriff department as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
he loves what he does. My husband has always been protect and serving. He when he was 5 years old, he said he wanted to be a police officer. And when he got out of the Marine Corps, that's what we worked towards, him becoming a police officer. So this is like a lifelong goal for him, or purpose, I would say. It's not even a goal. So he loves what he does, and he does it well. And he shows up for families. He shows up. He's a resource officer at this time, and he shows up for the school. They love him, the administration, to the kids. He impacts lives. And so that makes me upset that the organization that he serves, and that he serves the community, I think more because, you know what I mean, it's his work that he loves. But then they're supposed to be a family. And I feel like in this, the demonstration was very disheartening. If this was tables turned, I don't think they would have wanted the same treatment they gave him for them if this was their son, you know? So I think that's a place that I'm vocal about. And in me advocating for my family, that I'll speak the truth in love, but I'm not gonna, mix up my words to say that they've done justice by him. They have not in this. And that's the sad part. But he shows up. This is me speaking. No, not him.
Yes.
He shows up every day, and he serves and he protects. And the teachers, that the school administration where he's at, and the kids, the parents will attest to this. And so he's not going to stop doing what his purpose is. But for me as a wife and loving him and seeing that his organization has not stood by him, I'm really disappointed.
Did they let him be involved in any of it, or was it like a you have to step away from this? Was he able to even go out to the scene himself? Like how did all that work?
Yeah, I can respect the process because he couldn't be involved in the case, and I can understand for the sake of making sure that there is no what is it called, conflict of interest.
Interest, yeah.
Yes, so no, he was not involved in the investigation or could use his. He never used his badge, his uniform to investigate my son's death, and so pretty much, yeah, that's how it's been for him. He's had to just take a step back. As I mean, but then where do you separate the dad from the deputy? You know,
Right.
um,
He's pretty much had to entrust his colleagues to do have justice for his son, and it's disheartening when it's not being taken fully all the way through as it should. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, you got anything else?
Yes, I do. I want to start off with I have two more questions for you, Miss Sophie, because the first one is what does justice look like for you? Because as we continue to cover a lot of stories, I also heard you speak a little bit about Nolan Wells, which I'll ask a question from that. With that being said, my biggest question I always pose is what does justice look like? Because we see so many of these huge cases where there's parents still grieving, they're still seeking certain things that was promised to them, even though they receive monetary gain. But what does justice look like for the Lancaster family? And what can we do as creators, people who have a voice, who have an audience? What can we do to better serve you?
For me, justice is, um, well, for entities, it's doing what's right. I was told that what I'm looking for is sounds like a Goliath, impossible, which is holding an institution accountable, a system accountable. I believe that anyone who serves as a law enforcement and takes a vow, an oath to protect and serve should do so. I realized through this process that there is a thing like sovereign immunity, which says this you can't police officers can do a bad job and it's not a problem. No one can hold them accountable for doing a bad job. But my thing is the lines can get gray. How can someone hold people accountable for not just doing a bad job, but for doing, I'll say, a cover up job or, you know, or where they pretty much know what they're doing, but then they're in the construct of we don't have to do our best. So I believe that, like in every entity, whether you're a corporate, nonprofit, any organization, you need to have the right people in the right seats. If people have, let's say, intrinsic prejudices that when they see a scene, they already make a deduction like, oh, this black boy doesn't know how to handle a rifle. He shot himself. So they already come to a conclusion and protect others while taking away the rights for others. Those are things that need to be dealt with. I believe that there has to be a standard within the justice system that allows where forensics and the science that they are supposed to rely on matter, with a medical examiner's opinion, if he has done a job that is right, matters. And and the evidence itself can be explained in a way that it makes logical sense. You can't as you can't expect us to act like we don't have a brain and to
Yeah.
take this conclusion without um, any type of science backing it. So I think for me, justice right now, I mean, I'd love to say it brings my son back, but it does not. But what it does is it protects other sons like mine who are in other households. It holds the people accountable. If people did lie, if people covered up, if people didn't do a job, they have to be held accountable because these people do not deserve to have the power to subject families like ours through this gruesome process. So to me, justice is the systems coming down, the systems that are broken, the systems that are only working for one people as opposed to all people, because all lives matter. Black lives matter, and I can say that with, like, with boldness, to say Black lives matter, because the reason why we say that is that we have found the system does not protect our children. And I'll be one to confess, I never was that type of person to go out there and be like, Black lives matter. But when I say Malachi matters, I'm saying Black lives matter, because he was looked at. It didn't matter like the merit of his life and what he did and how he impacted people. At the end of it, it seems like his color is what allowed like the justice to be skewed against him. And so those are the things that are like, now me actually walking this process and saying, no, my fight is not just for my son, but it's for our sons and our people, And in that, I'm not putting down anyone. And I pray that Malachi, as he lived and he loved all people, Black, white, our house, we have friends from all races. But yet, like, I hope that my white counterparts, those that love us and love our family, can also understand my pain. And maybe if they have never understood it, but from them loving me and loving Malachi, they can understand that there is an injustice that needs to be addressed.
Do you feel like our justice, speaking about the Black community, do you think it gets lost because of the lack of, we become so overly emotional? Because I think what stands out to me the most about you and your family is the way you are going about it. I know you guys have emotional moments. I know you guys have moments where you want to probably throw something at a wall, but at the end of the day, your grace, the way you move, it makes you so, it's easier to gravitate towards you because you can see that your change that you're looking for is authentic. Like you still said, everyone matters, but I also understand now why Black lives matter. And one of the things that I always try to speak to the audience about is, I think sometimes the way we approach things have to change eventually for change to happen. Because I guarantee you probably have become you probably got more knowledge about the justice system now that you probably ever had in your life.
Yeah.
And I think, would you ever have gotten there without it? And now you're going to, Miss Lancaster is going to be someone who's able to go help the next Lancaster family or the next Nolan Wells family. And I think that's one of the biggest things that really gravitated me towards you, just watching you from different interviews. It's the grace, it's the mercy that you're moving with. And I know that sounds hard for some, but it's like, it's the only way to almost go about it to ultimately get the change that you're looking for.
Yeah. And if I could speak to that, I would say it is my faith that has, because I Christ died for all. Like, it doesn't matter your color. Like, all of us, humanity, are loved by God. So I have to be careful about demonizing people and putting people in categories. You have equally, bad people in the Black communities as you have in the white community. You have good people in all races. So what is important here is that when we see an injustice against particularly one group of people, we have to, as a collective, unified group, say, no, it's not okay. Whether it's happening in the white community, Black, Indian community, Hispanic community, it's like, where's our humanity? And so when you see that inhumane things are happening within the Black community, I would hope that all hearts that have compassion would unite to say, no, this needs to change, because that's my brother, that's my sister. They might have a different background or, cultural understanding, but yet, like, this is my brother, this is my sister. So I come from that platform, which is making sure that whatever I do, whatever I say, I can stand before the Lord and account for my words and my actions. And I don't want anything that I do to cause others to walk misaligned with what God's truth is. And I think that's where I take it as a steward, and I ask God's wisdom in how to be able to approach this, but still not backing down, still not being timid or intimidated, but walking boldly and saying, no, justice for Malachi. And I'm not backing down from that. Like, I can speak the truth and I can still love you. I can still forgive you, but I'm not going to allow injustice to be like what I walk, what I accept for my life.
Yes.
Mhm.
A lovely, lovely answer.
Yeah.
Lovely answer. And then, did you have anything, Rain, before I move into this last one?
We can move on. Move
And
on.
you got anything?
No, we good.
Okay. And the last question, because you did speak a little bit about it, and you can speak on it as much as you would like. The last thoughts are: what is your thoughts on the Nolan Wells situation? And again, kind of going back, do you feel like the emotional narratives have now made it harder for the families to seek justice or to move forward?
You know, having walked through such a loss, I can just, understand the stress or even the pain that the family's going through, especially having to live it through the public eye. And also having all your like movements, whether you smile, whether you cry, questioned, where you can't be a human being and like grieve in that, secret place. So I know that I pray for them. When I heard about Nolan Wells missing, I actually just started to cry and pray. I asked the Lord personally, I said, Lord, I don't want this family to walk through what we've walked through. I ask you, please, so I got like this heavy sense of compassion for them before they even found him deceased. So, in that, I understand their journey, and I know it looks different from ours because we were able to have that part of our experience, the initial part and the celebration of my son's life and all of that. That was more of a private thing. But then it's still a difficult thing to do, especially in public. So what I do is I pray for them, and I hope maybe the way that eyes are on this case, that it allows the truth to come out, and whatever that truth is, that it is told, and that people who do have the power to pretty much those that are in law enforcement that are investigating, that they just follow the evidence. They
Yes.
follow the evidence and allow the truth to be told, and as opposed to framing a narrative and already coming to a conclusion before an investigation is properly done. So I pray for them, and I ask that, as a community of, people who want to see justice for Nolan, that we continue to pray for them and hold the systems accountable. If it wasn't for us actually going public, I don't think we would have had what we have, which is like the public record. When we entrusted ourselves to the process for 6 months, then I ended up going public. And when I went public, all of a sudden, that's when they chose to close the case. So I saw the power of like community when people started to reach out to FWC, Alachua County Sheriff's Office, holding them accountable. That's when we actually got records, because before then, they were saying, oh, it's not closed. So we couldn't get 911 calls. We couldn't get even a report. We had nothing.
Wow.
So I understand that now we don't have to be subject. We can collectively hold the system accountable. And so that's what I hope, that justice will come for Nolan Wells.
Awesome. I love what you said there. And I do want to give you an opportunity to speak about the petition you are doing for justice for Malachi, so that people can also benefit from understanding what this petition will get you if they do reopen the case, and what are some things that you will possibly need. Because I don't know, and I probably am asking this in the incorrect, like, have you reached out to any other like Ben Crump type people, like, or did you say, hey, I'm just going to do it this way and we're going to?
Yes, I think from the beginning, people, when we went public, people were like Ben Crump, and so we have not had a response from their team. But as it, where I put my faith, like I said, I put my faith in God, and I know that whoever He's aligned us with to help us will help us, and that this fight, yes, it requires me to engage in courage. It requires our family to say, we need to figure out a way forward. We need experts that we can entrust to. We need people who know what they're talking about, who can look at these reports and this evidence and ascertain like what really happened. So yes, we have the petition, and the petition, what it is, it's us collectively saying it's not just the Lancaster family who want justice for Malachi. That if it is going to go to government officials or elected members to say this is important, not just to us, but to our community. Our community is hurting. We need healing. And so, and the healing comes no justice, right? No peace. When there's no justice, there's no peace. And that's true, because we were actually out of the country when 4th of July, we were in London, in the United Kingdom, but yet I saw so many people started posting justice for Malachi. This is how it came up. So
Awesome.
what's happening with Nolan made people like a PTSD, like brought trauma to say, we've got another case that has not like given us rest, that was not handled well. And people started posting justice for Malachi, justice for Malachi. It wasn't even initiated by our family, but it was a spark from the community. It was an outrage from the communities to say, we have not forgotten Malachi, and we have not forgotten the injustice that was applied in his case. So I guess I don't know if I'm answering a question, but I guess that's the thing, is that I want to make sure that as we move forward through this, the petition is our collective voice to say it's not just us. So as many people, I want to encourage you guys to partner up, share the petition, share Malachi's story. I'm believing God is going to move some mountains, and I say Goliath must come down. What I was told, that holding a system accountable is impossible, I'm more challenged to say, okay, God, I'm not going to take that as an answer. I believe that if something is wrong, it needs to be fixed.
Definitely agree. Definitely agree. Thank you for explaining that too, because I just wanted everyone to understand what the petition would allow for the reopening of Malachi's case. I pray the same thing that happens. We'll continue to keep this up on our live feeds when we have it. We'll continue to show Malachi's flyer as well that we created. As long as that's okay with you,
Yes.
we'll keep it going for sure. But again, even in the chat, Supermax said your grace is amazing. Like it's something that's just so like I don't like it's just something about it, like, and it's just it baffles me that someone who can be so patient with a system, someone who not only was patient but then took her patience into, hey, let me put my own work behind it, let me go into, like they say the harvest is plentiful but the laborers are few.
Yeah.
That's literally what you see in the justice system, right?
Yeah.
It's a fight that you have to be willing to take on every day that you wake up. And I want to say thank you for doing that. Thank you for bringing Malachi into our vision. Like we never, because we didn't hear about it until I don't know if you know her, but I want to give her a shout out. She actually sent us the email speaking about Malachi. Her name was Miss
Natasha Fox.
Yes, Miss Natasha
Yeah,
Fox.
that's how it came across our radar.
Yeah, she said she sent it out. She said you guys need to get in touch with Miss Sophie. Like the story, everybody needs to hear this. So you are touching people, even though it might not seem as going as quickly. But I will tell you, I think you're doing an amazing job. It's great to see amazing mothers and fathers because it's so unique, because we always talk about the nuclear family, right? Yeah. And you guys are a perfect example of the nuclear family. And we have to continue to move these things forward to get justice. And I appreciate you even being able to identify what justice looks like for you and your family. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So I do want to ask though, you've been diligent in everything that you're doing, all the research you've done behind the case, especially with the medical examiner and everything that went on. What do you need like right now to happen for you and your family?
Well, I know that we have approached a lot of different experts, because a scene reconstruction was never done, as well as we have a pathologist, we thank God. So we're looking for a review of the medical examiner's report. And so those experts are professionals and they require funds. So we do have a GoFundMe set up for those that want to sow and assist us in the efforts of getting justice. We've spent thousands and thousands of dollars, but it's not about the money. And I thank God that we've been able to pay for these things, because I think that's what a lot of families, they face the obstruction of, even for the medical record. I mean, for the body cam and all of, like, it's thousands of dollars. They charge you, even like for any medical records, or not medical records, but public records.
Yeah.
There is a cost for it. And being able to, like, so I see the obstruction where people stop because they don't have the means to. So with us, it's a higher level where we have to get a pathologist. We have to pay for the pathologist. We have to the ballistics, like someone who's a gun expert who can reconstruct and see whether those mechanisms are really plausible. So that's what I would say. Like, help us if you're willing with the GoFundMe.
Was there and I'm sorry to ask you this so late in the interview, was there nobody who felt it was a problem? Because they redid the whole area.
Yeah.
Like they took down all the shrubbery. They took that, like, it didn't even look the same no more. So like, it's almost like you can't even start back initially at the crime scene. Like, you would literally have to go fully documented to documents to provide justice. Like, did no one I don't want to ask questions that could like mess up anything, because I don't know if, like, do you know of the family?
This is a good question, because I asked this question to the lead investigator within, I think, a month and a half after Malachi's death, because this was done, the clearing of the scene was done within the month of his death, when we're still waiting for, remember, we didn't get a report or any kind of information to even know that we need to find our own experts until 6 months later in July. So here, when I posed that question, I said, are we able to have our own scene reconstruction experts go onto the land and recreate this twig thing? And they said, yeah, you can. And I said to them, because they didn't know, I said, well, how can we if the scene has been altered and now it's a rock landscaping? And they said, they shrugged their shoulders and say, well, it's their property, it's private property, they can do whatever they want. That's how our question with the lead when we posed it to the lead investigator, his lieutenant or his supervisor responded with, well, it's private property, they can do whatever they want to do.
Even though it's private property, it's still, well, I would still deem it as a crime scene.
It was still under investigation. The case was not closed. This is within a month and a half from this.
They should have not been, even though that private property, to me, they shouldn't have not been able to alter it in any way.
Exactly. But then I think the most saddening part is his response. It's like, well, they can do, like, kind of like, sorry for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't more of like from an investigative, or, oh, this is concerning, or maybe let's figure out how we can then recreate it since the scene has been changed. It was never from a solutions base. It was more of like, sorry for you.
Oh. I do have one more question. Sometimes these things pop up afterwards. Did you know the family that where the young gentleman that he went hunting with? Did you know the family personally, or no?
No, I didn't. And with Malachi, he had so many friends.
Yeah.
Was one where they would come in and out, and so this was a recent acquaintance. I believe that they were exploring a friendship. I wouldn't say a friend, because if he was, I would know him. At the scene, he didn't even know my son's last name when they were speaking.
Wow.
He says, Malachi, that's to ask him what's his last name. He said he didn't know. He tried to go onto his social media to see Malachi's last name. So I can't say he said Malachi, because, he didn't know him that well either.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Miss Sophie, we appreciate you being here. Thank you for not only trusting us with before I do all this, please, y'all, y'all know how my brain can be scattered sometimes. We put in the comments the GoFundMe to help support financially. If you would like to help support them financially, they cannot get these private investigations done without your support. Please go support. And then the petition to demand the Florida Department, the Fish and Wildlife, and the the sheriff's office to open back up the case. So make sure y'all go sign the petition to open it back up, and make sure y'all go support on the GoFundMe. We will make sure the links have been in the comments, but we will make sure, especially on YouTube, to link in the description so y'all can go back. People who go back and watch this after the live can go back and support there as well. So, Miss Sophie, we really appreciate you being here, for trusting us enough to share Malachi's story on this platform. I know these are not what you got. So, and
in the future, Miss Sophie, if we ever can get you again, Mr. I-90, he's in the law enforcement field, and he said next time he would love to come up and kind of give his knowledge too from the law enforcement background, because he said that he put faith in the facts. He said crime teams can be cleared. The case doesn't have to be closed to release the scene. He said, I would love to join you guys one day to discuss this and how it goes.
Okay. So, yeah. Definitely. I think the more knowledge, like I said, as I was approaching this as a novice and learning as we go, but there are certain things that you just saying, okay, what is the forensic science that you use for this conclusion? And when everything else points to a different conclusion, then how do you explain away that in your own deduction? And that's been our question.
Definitely.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we know these are not easy conversations to have, and we don't take lightly what it means to ask a mother to revisit the most painful moments of her life in the hope of finding answers. We are grateful that you allowed us to be a space where Malachi's life can be remembered, where your questions can be heard, and where the public can look into the information for themselves. And we want to make sure that we end tonight remembering that Malachi is so much more than just a case file, an autopsy report, or the circumstances surrounding December 8th. He was your son. He was loved. He had a future, and his life mattered. And whatever comes next, our hope is that your family gets the clarity, transparency, and the answers you've been asking for. Thank you for allowing us to be a small part of helping you seek those answers, and for trusting us with Malachi's story.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rain. Thank you. I appreciate you guys for this opportunity and this platform that you guys have built to just give a voice to the voiceless. And that's the power of unity, that we can be able to share our stories and have others join in on the cause. So thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. And if you have anything for us, Miss Sophie, we'll be able to see you backstage. We're just going to close out the show real quick.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
We know when to light the candles. We know when to make the shirts. We know when to hold the vigil. We know when to post the picture. We know exactly what comes next. And that's what scares me. Because grief was never supposed to become a routine. How did this become normal? Another name, another night, another family asking why. How did this become normal?
Yeah. Deep-rooted conversations. Real talk. Real words. Real us. Souls. Soft rain. No middleman between the truth. I can see it in your eyes, you got it. Pain got your heart moving cautious. Different worlds but the same kind of scars here. Different roads but somehow we still crossed it. Mad cause the world never listened right. Mad cause your truth always turned